Productivity in the United States posted its largest drop in United States history during the second quarter of this year. Now, considering the fact that we are officially in a recession, we've got record-breaking inflation every single month, we've got central bank who is in between a rock and a hard place on deciding whether to tighten or whether to ease and soften the blow on the economy, this is not a good sign that we are seeing productivity drop like this, because an increase in productive output would be our only way out of this mess pain-free, and we are not taking it. Ready? Let's dive in. Real quick, a word from today's sponsor, Swan Bitcoin. I use Swan Bitcoin to buy Bitcoin every single day. I dollar cost average, I stack sats. That means that as the price of Bitcoin is volatile and moving downwards, I'm getting my total overall position at a lower cost. I'm averaging down into it. The reason I use Swan Bitcoin is because we're looking around today, we're watching crypto exchanges lay people off. They're falling over like flies because they've all been not conservative. They've taken out leverage, but not so with Swan Bitcoin. They're extremely conservative, so I know that it's safe to use them. Because they only focus on Bitcoin, they're very efficient, very cheap, and the best part is they're extremely safe because your Bitcoin doesn't stay with them. You auto withdraw to a wallet of your choice whenever you want, and that's why I use Swan Bitcoin. And if you use my link in the description below, you will get $15 worth of Bitcoin just for signing up. So during the second quarter of this year, the United States posted its largest drop in productivity. It declined by an annualized 4.6% in the second quarter of this year. For a chart of what this looks like, we are looking at the Federal Reserve's chart here with non-farm business labor productivity, which is measured in output per hour for all employed persons. And you can see the drop that took place near here at the end of this chart. So now we have to take a step back and ask the question, why does productivity matter? And the answer is that's pretty much all that matters. Take a look at your own life, your own budget, your own financial situation. Let's say you're taking home $10,000 per month. That means every month you can only spend $10,000 per month. Now, if next month you want to spend $11,000, that means you will have to forego spending this month, save $1,000. Now you only can spend $9,000 this month, so that next month rolls around, you get your $10,000 of income from your productivity, and then you have $11,000 to spend because you had a surplus from the last month. That's one way to do it. The only other way to do it is to spend $11,000 this month, even though you had no prior surplus, because you borrowed $1,000 from somebody else, which means that next month you'll have to forego spending one of your normal $1,000, only spend $9,000 to pay back the $1,000 extra that you spent by borrowing the prior month. You can see here very clearly, their only way to get through a levering up is by deleveraging. Anytime you spend purchasing power, it must be repaid, and it can either be repaid from a prior surplus or from a future surplus. That's the only way to do it. Now you ask, well, wait, what about a default? What if I just decide not to pay back that debt? That means that whoever I borrowed it from doesn't get those dollars back, which means they're never able to spend them. And so there's a destruction of money, and still the net result on the system is a loss in that additional purchasing power that it thought it got from me. We do not have a net increase in purchasing power from that. And one last note, because I understand you probably are thinking of fractional reserve banking right now, that you know money is lent into existence. And the reason why I specified purchasing power is because the only reason new money that is created, that is lent into existence, has any purchasing power is because it's siphoned from all existing money. And so the purchasing power on net doesn't change. Dollar number might change, the purchasing power doesn't. Now you say, but wait, even if you have to pay that money back, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have to forego spending in one of the following or one of the prior months, because let's say you work overtime, or let's say you get another job or you get a side hustle, you get a raise, you increase your productive output. And now instead of making $10,000 a month, you make $11,000 per month. That means If I lever up 1 month, borrow $1,000 and spend $11,000, now next month I'm making more money, I make $11,000, I can pay back that $1,000 from before and still spend $10,000, and then next month I get to spend $11,000 every month. And you are exactly right. If you increase your productive output, it allows you to deleverage without experiencing the pain of the deleveraging. Let me say that again, because I need this to be very clear. If you increase your productive output, you go from 10,000 to 11,000, you increase your income. That allows you to experience a deleveraging, like paying off $1,000 of debt, without the pain of that deleveraging. You don't have to spend $9,000 1 month. You increased your income enough to pay off that debt without reducing your budget. And the fact is, the economy in total works the exact same way, because there is no such thing as the economy. There are only individual actors that have productive output and debt and earning power and assets. It's just a bunch of individuals. So if you owe money and then you make more money, you can pay off the money you owe without having to sacrifice the next month. If every single person does this, and every single company does this, and governments do this, and everyone in the world increases their earnings, their income, their productive output, that would allow you to deleverage without experiencing the pain like a depression or a recession or a deflationary death spiral. And with government debt at all-time highs, and with corporate debt at all-time highs, and with household debt at all-time highs, pairing all that debt with inflation at all-time highs, and debt service costs going up from the Federal Reserve raising interest rates, we are at a point where individuals, governments, and corporations are having to make a choice on what to do with those debt service costs. We have spent this purchasing power already. That's what debt is. There is no surplus from the past that we can use to pay this down. The savings pool is spent. We only have a giant pile of debt, which means that debt will be paid or it will be defaulted on. Now, if it's defaulted on, that's massive economic pain. If it's paid at the current levels of productive output, that's a lot of economic pain. If you've got $500,000 of personal debt and you make $100,000 a year, how long do you think it would take you to pay off all that debt at your current income level while still trying to maintain your style of living? You wouldn't be able to do it in a short amount of time. You would have to decrease your quality of living and move all that purchasing power towards paying off your debt, sacrifice for a long time to get that debt pile to zero. And if instead they try and inflate it away, you're just paying off that debt with less purchasing power, which also equals a lot of economic pain. And this brings us back to productivity, because that's the only path through this in which we can make it without experiencing that pain, is if we increase our economic productivity. And given the last few quarters, we are now basically flat in terms of our productive output since 2020. Now, it's not like there's no hope. There is a little tiny bit of hope dangling in front of us in the future for a way that we could drastically increase our productive output enough to make up the difference. And really, that would be artificially intelligent robots. And we don't have time to get too deep into the weeds here. I'm not talking about a dystopian iRobot type of future. I'm basically just talking about the Industrial Revolution, the Agricultural Revolution, what the internet has done for us so far. These are all major technological leaps that have given us a big jump in productive output, because we've been able to offload human labor that we don't want to have to do and we're not very good at to animals or machines or methods. This makes those things more abundant, which supply and demand means they get cheaper, which means we can allocate more of our time, our labor, our resources, our capital to getting other stuff that we want more instead. Think about it this way. How much better would your life be if your cost of acquiring a new car was $100 or $50 because machines created so many cars that they became so abundant that you could get one for $50 because it doesn't cost anything to make those cars anymore because we have machines doing it for us. That would be a good thing for society, not a bad thing. What would you do with all those extra dollars? What would you do with all that extra time that you're spending to currently pay for your transportation? This is the natural progress throughout all of human history. We've found ways to make more abundance, make things cheaper, finding ways to get things done more efficiently. That allows us to allocate more capital, time, and resources to other things that are more important. And so rather than it being something to be feared, a wave of automation and artificial intelligence and robots taking over human jobs would be a good thing. Your life would get cheaper. You'd be able to spend more time and more resources on the other things that you want to more, and maybe spend less time working at nonsense jobs. But if you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments section below. And as always, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.